So for today, I'm planning on working on this page from start to finish. So for anyone who wasn't here yesterday and the day before, I was working a bit on this other page, but it's a little complicated with a lot of background elements and lighting that kind of needs to track, so I'd like to do a lot of the figuring out off of the stream. But a lot of people were asking me questions last time about formatting things for Webtoons, so what I decided to do was, and I made this example, where I took some sketches from this panel and like put it into like a long form format to show what I would normally do, but I decided, since this is one of the easier pages to draw, it would be fun to just do this page from start to finish and end up formatting the finished version, so you get to see what a finished Webtoon page would look like. I love reading Webtoons, and I really like that it makes it really easy to keep up with multiple Webtoons. So I literally have like, I think like 10 or 15 Webtoons that I'm like completely caught up on updates with, and I just like read them every week, and it's always really fun doing that. I really love that Webtoons just made me read more comics in general, because I really love comics. But then now I have a huge pile of like comics I spent money on that are sitting on my bookshelf, taking up physical space, that I haven't read because it's like so daunting to pull one of those out when I could just read a Webtoon. Did you get to a place where you really know your OCs? I think that like part of that is something that just like comes with time. But I mean, they will go through a lot of changes over time. But for me, I personally found that I think when I started writing the story, that's kind of when they became like their most like actualized versions of themselves, because at that point I had to make decisions about their personalities like based on the story and not based on like what I like personally wanted out of them, if that makes sense. So yeah, I've also kind of like, I first started drawing these characters about like 5 years ago, so it's been quite a while for me. So and they have changed quite a lot. I can try to see if I have like really old art of them, but I'm also like really embarrassed to show it because my art style was so different then. Okay, one awesome thing that Clip Studio Paint has that I love is their perspective ruler. It's pretty amazing, so I'm gonna use that a little bit on this camera because I don't want to have to work it out myself. Although, I don't know if it's like, sometimes if you're drawing something that doesn't have much of, a vanishing point, it can actually get a little distorted if you try to use the perspective ruler, so you have to be careful of that too. Yeah, like, between these two characters, like, Alexis, like my girl character, she was mostly the same throughout the entire writing process. Like, I feel like I just came up with this concept for her, and she's supposed to be kind of like this, like, Instagram loving girl who's into like aesthetic things and daydreams a lot. And she's like never changed. But my other character, Neil, he went through like so many changes. He gave me such a hard time, and I was very like angry at him for a lot of the process, and like hated him for a lot of the process. And it took me a while for me to like him again. Or, but as I wrote the story, like he kind of started to come together because like of you know, I had to make decisions about him and his personality based on, yeah, like based on what the story needed, and it helped a lot. But yeah, I think the reason why I had a lot of trouble with Neil as a character was because the two of them were always written together, and they were supposed to kind of play off of each other's differences. But since like conceptually, like what would the opposite of like, you know, a character like her be? You know, there's a lot of different answers to that depending on your like your philosophy and whatever. So in the beginning of the story, he was a lot more serious and kind of grumpy. And he was like a very like outdoorsy kind of person because it was supposed to play off of her her, like, she was supposed to be just like a little bit of a unrealistic person, so I wanted a character that was very grounded, and he still is, but I ended up changing him to be more of like now he's like a bit of like a softer character who doesn't really stand up for himself. Like that's kind of like where I ended up going instead when I tried to find like an opposite to her. And he's like, rather than being like an outdoorsy person, he's like he studies like mathematics and things like that, and he's like a very like logical person who has a lot of trouble like accepting that sometimes like you don't know how things will turn out in life. So that's like my quick description of my characters. But I think what helps a lot sometimes is like try to have like try to like boil down your character to like maybe one concept you're trying to convey. And then like have everything about them sort of like reflect or strengthen that quality about them. So like, I mean, if you're going through something similar to what I went through, like you should maybe ask like what's his relationship to the main character supposed to be, and like if he's supposed to be someone who helps her, or someone who or like helps the main character, or like helps, or like is an enemy of the main character, or you know, or is like sometimes a friend, sometimes, you know, like once you define that relationship, I think it'll help you develop all of their traits to reinforce that. And Araya J, is A4 a good size for a webcomic? Generally, like, your webcomic can be literally any size. For Webtoons, since they do a scrolling format, I think the width is usually either 800 pixels or 1200 pixels. I have to double check that, actually, before I start formatting. So what people usually do is, like I kind of demonstrated here, is like they just literally copy and paste the panels into like a long document like this, and it works fine. So like the nice thing about A4 size is generally when you open that on a like on a digital drawing program, it will automatically come in at 300 DPI, which is considered like the bare minimum DPI you should use for printing. So if you ever plan on printing your comic, generally like people recommend you use 300 DPI for all of your drawings that you think you ever might print. So that even includes like if you're just drawing fan art, or even if you're doing doodles and you're like, maybe one day I want to put these doodles in an art book, like do your doodles at 300 DPI, or else it's going to look ugly when you print it. And you can always shrink it if you need to, you know, put it online, but you can't make it bigger. Generally, I don't know, I think like there's some pretty cool technology that's like out there that's like making it easier. But yeah. And but yeah, A4 is actually pretty big. Like that's like full printer paper size big. I like to work on from an A4 size for illustrations and things, but I think for a comic page you don't need to work that big. You can if you want. But I would look up like what the standard graphic novel size is for your region or country. So what I did for my comic was I looked up the standard graphic novel size for North America, and like that's what the dimensions of mine are. But in general, it's like pretty, like there's not any like hard restrictions or anything. As long as it's like a high enough resolution and like a good size, you should be fine. So the cool thing about, like another one of the many cool things about Clip Studio Paint is that it can, like it has these like very powerful perspective grids, but they also are very powerful in that when you use like the square or circle drawing tools, they will also draw the circle or square within your perspective guidelines, which is pretty crazy and very cool. Hello, Mad Gameplay. Let me read your question. I'm wanting to create my story for visual mediums. What are the best books and tutorials and whatnot in your opinion to put me on the right track? So there's one classic that everyone recommends, which is Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. I don't know if you've heard of that one yet, but that one's kind of considered like the one that you should start with. That one just kind of goes deep into like comics analysis, and it's like actually quite conceptual, and it's very cool. And he also has another book that he published later called Making Comics, that I haven't finished reading yet, but I'm in the process of. There's also Framed Ink, which is all about like how to like make like kind of engaging and dynamic compositions. That one I'm also in the middle of reading. I think I put it down a while ago, never remember to pick it up, but it is very helpful. Personally, I really like Making Comics because in Making Comics, the end of every chapter actually has a bunch of exercises you can do. So it'll be things like, oh, pick a comic and like, I don't know, oh no, there was one that was like, have your friend write down a description of every panel and give it to you, and then you try to draw the comic page without having seen it before and see what you come up with. So that one's like pretty cool. Mosquito, what do you do for wrist pain? The number one thing I'd say is if you have wrist pain, take a break. Even if you have to, like, not draw for a day. I know it sucks, but if you, like, overwork your wrists, sometimes you'll have to not be able to draw for, like, several months or something if it's really bad. The other one is, like, make sure you do wrist stretches a lot. I try to do them, like, every day, even though I don't remember. And the other thing is, like, don't press too hard on your pen when you're drawing. So, if you're drawing digitally, you can actually change the settings in your program to make sure that, like, so that you don't have to press as hard. And that goes a long way. Yeah, I definitely recommend trying to use your shoulders too. That's definitely like solid advice a lot of people give. I don't use my shoulder as much as I think I could, but actually no, I think I do without realizing it. Or at least I try to use my elbows a lot, but yeah. Yeah, try not to concentrate all of your movements in only your wrist. I know everyone recommends Understanding Comics, but I would say between Understanding Comics and Making Comics, I would recommend Making Comics instead because it's a lot more thorough and it teaches you through exercises. Because Understanding Comics is mostly more about how to appreciate and read comics. I feel like Understanding Comics is almost made more for like justifying like the academic validity of comics as an art form, and it's kind of made for people who are both artists and non-artists to appreciate comics. So if I could only recommend one book out of all of them, I would recommend Making Comics. Alright, I have to come up with a sound effect for this Polaroid popping out, so I had something like slip before, but maybe like a shoo would be better. Remember like that like old meme that was like shoop the whoop? I'm probably like showing my age. I kind of like slurp, because that is kind of what like Polaroids popping out kind of sounds like. Or like slurp. I'm gonna make it slurp. Slurp just sounds a little gross. So this comic is gonna be roughly like graphic novel length. So right now my approximation is about like 200 pages. Maybe more, maybe less. I feel like it's probably gonna get longer as I work on it, which is what usually happens. But maybe I'll just do slip. That sounds kind of weird. Shoop. I kind of like shoop too. No, shoop is too. I kind of like slurp the most, but without the U. Just like. Yeah, maybe with the H. I want it to like to not like resemble any existing word. Yeah, I'm going to be publishing it on Webtoons. And then when I'm done, I'm gonna try to get it printed either through like I'll try to look for like a print deal with a publisher, because I know there are a few like Oni Press that like to do publish like existing comics. Maybe. Yeah, it'd work too. Or I could do like something like that too. I don't know, I don't have to decide that now. I have until later. And maybe I'll just do like yeah, I kind of like the double R's. Sure. Yeah, I think I'll go with this for now. I feel like I didn't finish. Oh yeah, and like if I can find a publisher, I'll just use Kickstarter, which a lot of webcomic artists do too. I'm gonna grab his turnaround really quickly, because I already forgot how to draw him. Just gonna grab this here. I'll just pull this out. So for the pre-planning process, what I did was I first, I had the idea for a long time already, and like, initially I just like would write it while I was on like the subway and stuff like that when I used to work in New York City. And then like, as I started to develop it more, and once I got to a point where I realized I really wanted to make it, I basically like about almost exactly a year ago actually, and that's the I like left my job, and actually the day after I left my job was the first day of like was the day I went to LightBox Expo. So it's crazy that it's been pretty much exactly 1 year since I left my job as a 3D artist, and I'm like here tabling now and like drawing, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so once I left my job, I basically like set a goal where I wanted to finish at least like a rough pass, like a rough first pass of my comic like by the end of the year. So I spent like 3 months just like doing a first pass script of like the entire comic and writing out every single page as a script. So yeah. And then once I had the first pass script of the whole thing, I was able to start focusing on refining it, and then like getting like the first couple pages to like final, like, or to like a spot that I was happy with. And let me look at the comment. Wow, that turnaround page is clean. Thank you. I slaved over it for a bit. Okay, not really, but like I do think it's important to invest your time into like a turnaround, like a very clean turnaround page if you can, because a lot of times it'll be like your first time like seeing your character from different angles, and like it does take a long time to actually figure out that kind of stuff. So I didn't want to have to figure that out as I was drawing the comic, because like I'm still pretty bad at drawing people from behind. So I was like, okay, like I just have to figure out how to draw him from behind once. And okay, what's the basic premise of your comic? Thank you. So my comic is about 2 college classmates who are investigating a local legend about a boy that went missing, or no, like a man that claims that his brother went missing in the woods, like in the 40s or something. And when they go investigate it, they end up like getting lost in the woods, and that they find themselves in like a weird place where things are extremely beautiful all the time, and they have to choose if they wanna, like, is it worth going back to the real world? That's like more than I've told anyone else so far, but I've been like, or like just like regular audiences, but I feel like that is kind of the premise, is like, or one of the concepts is like, do you go for the fake beautiful world, or do you go for the ugly real world, kind of. Yeah, it is a bit isekai-ish. Thank you. I love drawing her with a woo face. Rob Gibbs, any tips for getting better at drawing full clothed figures from your head? Yes. So first of all is if you can, like, try to like find like well, I mean now it's hard, but if you can find like a clothed figure drawing class, I would recommend it, because I took one. Oh, sorry, my cat's like sleeping on the floor and meowing sadly at us. Mommy, come here. Are you sad? Okay. Sorry for interrupting my speech, but yeah, I went to like a really cool like clothed figure drawing class, and like on some days they would have people just come in normal clothes, and on some days they would have people like come in like really cool costumes and bring props. So that was like really useful. And yeah, I can try to find some like drawings. I can probably like I have some like Instagram, like an Instagram post, so I can leave that in the comments where I had some drawings. So let me paste those really quickly. So yeah, these are some drawings that I did as part of my figure drawing, like my costumed figure drawing class that I took. And they were really helpful. The other thing that I did was like I actually like took photos of myself wearing clothes really similar to like what my characters are wearing. And then I did studies based off of them. So let me show you that too. So yeah, these are like some drawings that I did, and these are based on my own photos. And it kind of made it so that like if I just like need a quick reference for a pose, I'll just like for like how their clothing should go, then I would just like open this and be like, okay, I'll just like do this one wrinkle and that wrinkle and stuff. So, and I actually have like a bigger document that has like let me find it, that has like a whole bunch of like like more poses, you know, so that just like helps me. It's like a cheat sheet, so you invest more time up front, but it saves you time down the line. But eventually, like once you do this enough times, you kind of just like memorize, like, okay, for this, for that, I'll just like do whatever. And things. I used to be a 3D artist, like a 3D modeler, so I feel like a lot of my workflow ideas I actually like are kind of inspired by my work as like a 3D artist. So, because in 3D and like production pipelines, you do a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, it's a great exercise too. How do you encourage new artists to fill in the extra space in panels? So I would definitely like learn a lot about things like composition, because sometimes like you want to have the extra space in the panels, because sometimes it can help add more impact to your work. Now this isn't always true, but I think that it helps a lot. And like depending on how like crud, I just like lost my train of thought, but but yeah, for example, like a panel, like sometimes like it's like a common saying that like your panel size should roughly be correspond to how long the viewers should look at a certain panel. So if you have like, I mean, like make a new canvas or something, you know, if you have like a panel that's just like, you know, like a person, but then you have like a panel of like a person staring at the sky, you know, it feels different, and you want that space, you know. I don't remember calling a panel a meme, but but yeah, and same goes for sometimes like you need the extra space for like space bubbles and stuff. So like I had a couple panels that like, you know, I only left this much space for a space bubble, but it turns out that you actually need like this much space for like a speech bubble. Blah 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 blah. Like if you're saying a lot. So I mean, like, I guess just like, you know, use as much space as you need. Sometimes you can also like whatchamacallit? I forgot what I was gonna say. Because I'm reading the chat at the same time. But yeah, you can also like experiment with like different cropping. So like, you know, if a character is like talking, you can even like, you know, if you want to be dramatic, you can like have someone like be like, yeah, I don't know, like, you know. So those are like all fun ways to use up space. How do you keep your panels aligned so neatly on a page, especially with stuff like diagonal lines? That is one of the amazing functions of Clip Studio Paint. So let me close this guy. Goodbye. Let me close this too, I don't need it. So if you make a new document, you can make like a single comic page. And trying to find like, if I can find like a, okay, whatever, I'll just make like a new document. There's this tool called like create frame, and you can actually like make a frame, and you can even use this tool called like cut frame border, and like it'll just like magically generate these like comic panels for you, and you can even go like diagonally, and it's like a super amazing tool, and it makes all of them into like a folder with a mask in it. It's like pretty awesome. So I don't know if that was the question you're asking, but yeah. Clip Studio Paint. Yeah, it is amazing, and it's like it's just like a tool on the toolbar. Create frame and cut frame border. see like some artists who use something that I think is very unique to Webtoons, and I really think it's very creative, is how they utilize like I guess it's like gutter space, where sometimes like they'll space the panels like really far apart from each other to like build tension. So like if something happens, like you have to scroll, and then like there's like, oh, a dramatic reveal at the bottom, and I think that's really awesome, and that's something you can't get in traditional like print comics. Diana Tomic, is this comic a collaborative effort, or did you write and draw by yourself? Yeah, I am writing it, drawing it by myself. And that reminds me, I think yesterday someone asked me if I have like beta readers, and I think I forgot the answer, and I feel pretty bad now. But but I do have my husband and my sister look over my scripts and give me like some feedback, because my husband is like a storyboard director for TV animation, so he's very knowledgeable about that kind of stuff from like a more technical perspective. And then my sister like really likes reading webtoons, so she can give me like more of like a audience perspective feedback on like things like I don't know, fan service or something. Okay, I did answer yesterday. Okay, that's good. Yeah, Darkman, I agree that a lot of people abuse like the gutter space for stuff that's like that isn't actually very dramatic. Like I hate when people really go overboard with it. It does like get really redundant. Yeah, I remember something as simple as like with my sister's advice, she was like I showed her like a New Year's card I was working on, and they were like, you know, my characters were kind of like dressed in like formal wear, and she was like, you gotta have them like have different hairstyles, like, you know, that's what like fans want to see, like fans want to see them like with different like hairstyles, and like your fans will dig up these old drawings and be like, oh my god, look at them in like a formal wear or something. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do that. But I think it's cool that she can give me that sort of like fan perspective, because I think that's like also extremely important. It's just as important as the professional stuff. Yeah, I would say like having a reveal on the next page is like a very classic tension builder. And I think the gutter thing is like supposed to kind of imitate that for a scrolling format. Yes, I have to think about what kind of fan service I want to do. I think I'll just draw ship art and lock it behind a Patreon. How do you like using Clip Studio Paint? How long did it take to learn to use it for doing comics? I've been putting it off for years just because I know Photoshop and do all my work there. Is it time to learn? Is the time to learn worth the benefits? First of all, bye Luna, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for the support. Dark Pen, for your question, the main benefits of Clip Studio Paint are the tools that are geared specifically towards making comics. So if you're not making a comic, I think it's totally fine to stick to using Photoshop for now. But I like some of the comic tools that Clip Studio Paint has will really save you like a ton of time. And like one of them is like yeah, like the paint bucket filling tool is like really smart, and like the comic paneling tool and the speech bubble tool, like these are all like amazing tools that like don't normally, like that Photoshop doesn't have, and you have to do by hand and take so much time. So one of the disadvantages is it doesn't have a great way of working in like CMYK, and so like sometimes, and like a lot of like the layer effects aren't as cool, so sometimes I will like do stuff using both programs. I think like there's honestly not a lot of artists who have completely ditched Photoshop for Clip Studio Paint. Most people will use them both together. Okay. I started off with Clip Studio. Do you think I should learn Photoshop? I mostly do illustrations. I don't think you would need to learn Photoshop if you already know Clip Studio Paint, but I do feel like professionally, people do often ask you to like work with like Photoshop files. Clip Studio Paint does let you save files like as Photoshop files, but if you were to work on like a production or something that needs for you to be able to like pass work back and forth between two people, it would be difficult to have to like be formatted, because there are like some functions that are like unique to each program. But otherwise it's not like if it's just about the final product, it's not as important, I think, for you to learn. When you go between Clip Studio Paint and Photoshop, how do you handle the file format conversion? Do you save your comic pages by default as PSD? Or do you save as only when you need to do something Photoshop specific? Yeah, I usually only... I still work in the Clip Studio Paint format because it lets you use more of their tools. And yeah, I only save as PSD when there's like something specific that I need to use. And usually I just, like, all I really do is I just like do some like file formatting to get it ready for like printing. During your pre-production phase, do you make color keys for scenes beforehand, or do you wing it for new scenes? Yeah, I like to do color keys. Right now I have been winging it a bit, for the stream, because I wasn't as, like, prepared as I wanted to be, because I had another, deadline to make, but, I am kind of loosely basing my, color palettes on some, like, cover mock-ups I made a while ago. I can show, let's see. Yeah, I won't, like, show all of these, because some of them are, like, slightly spoilery, but, you can see them all on screen, but, so, like, my cover is based off of this one. I have some of, like, these, you know. I have, like, this one. So, you know, there's some, like, you know, like, things that I'm overall basing, like, mood off of. But, yeah. So, yeah, these are, like, before, the logo is finished, which I commissioned from a designer named Spire Eaton. I really love his work. And I just kind of drew these quickly to throw the logo on to see how it would look. But yeah. Yeah, I'll, like, show you, like, a really silly doodle I did of them. That was, like, let me see. Oh, here we go. It's like a drawing I did of her a while ago, and she's, like, eating his head for some reason. That's just, like, her energy. So, all of my drawings of them are, like, them being silly like that. Delicious. There's, like, another one. She's, like, begging him for food. That's just, like, their dynamic, I guess. I don't know, it was like a one-off joke, and then it became a recurring thing. Where she just always wants food from him. So I guess, like, I came up with the idea for this comic, like, a really long time ago, like, 5 years ago or something, but I've only been actively working on it, technically since about a year ago, but I took a really long break in the middle to work on, like, a bunch of other comic stuff first. So that, like, you know, I would get some other experience, in print first. So, like, I made, like, my art book, I made, like, a few, like, mini comics, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, Clip Studio Paint has some default files. For this one, like most of their files are based on like Japanese, like doujinshi sizes. So, I did have to like make my own specific size for this one because like it's like a different ratio, but um, for like North American comics, but yeah. And okay, to go back to Darkton's question, Clip Studio Paint does like let you like when you open a file, like you set the individual parameters, but yeah, like see these like guides here, that is set up by the file. Like they will have a section where you can put in like how much you want the gutter to be or whatever, which is like pretty cool. Or just like what the margins will be, you know, and how big the canvas will be compared to, you know. So we're gonna try doing the formatting thing now. So yeah, this is like my demonstration so far of like how I would format this for Webtoons. So as you can see, it's pretty quick and painless. Like, I think that it's like, for the amount of time it takes, I think it's totally worth it for giving your viewers like a better viewing experience on the on like a mobile device, because it's a lot easier to read it like this than if I had to read it like, you know, at this size on a phone. You know, there's like a big difference between the two.
Hi there! So this is Lucy from the future. So the footage I've been editing was downloaded from Twitch, and that means that some of my audio was muted because I was playing copyrighted music during the stream. I didn't know this was a thing, so I'll do my best to put together a copyright-safe playlist for future streams. I know people really liked the playlist I had before, so I'll still leave a link so people can listen. But anyways, here you can see the final results of my stream. I finished this page from start to finish, including the Webtoon formatting, and this is basically what you would end up seeing on the app. Obviously, I'll probably make some other adjustments, like to the color and background and etc. off stream as I finish the rest of the chapter, but it was an absolute pleasure streaming, and because of popular request, I'm gonna start streaming on a regular basis starting from next week every Friday at around 2 p.m. Pacific time. I had an amazing LightBox Expo weekend, and I'm looking forward to getting to know all of my new followers. Editing all of these stream recaps takes a ton of time and effort, so I don't think I'll do this again except for special occasions, but recordings of all my streams will be available for 14 days on my Twitch channel, and I'll probably try to make more YouTube content in the future now that I have a nice mic and editing software to play around with. So thank you again for listening, and I'm super excited to go on this journey with everyone. Bye!